Morning, guys. This morning, before my first stop opens, I just want to address the issue everybody's talking about, Pope Francis restricting the Latin Mass. But before I get to that, I got a lot to say. And try and say it within 10 minutes or so. But here we go. We have an exciting guest Thursday for our Blue Collar and a Scholar series. And I'm going to make the announcement, but I'm not going to make it today because last time when I had Dr. Scott Hahn, I wasn't sure of the date. We were having a hard time coming up with a date that works for both of us. So I kind of gave you a heads up that I had a scholar coming, and it was fun to watch everybody guess. A few of you got it right. So I'm going to give you a little description about this scholar, and we'll see who can guess it. And like I said, I'll reveal it, Lord willing, tomorrow or the following day. But he'll be doing the interview Thursday. We'll record it at 5 and upload it as soon as we get a chance, probably Thursday night. So subscribe and hit the bell so when we do it, you're notified, because this guy, you're not going to want to miss. I am just amazed at God's grace that he allows me to talk to these men. I don't deserve it. I'm not qualified yet. I'm talking to probably the most scholarly man alive today. I would say this guy's got more high-level degrees, advanced degrees, than your average teenager got pimples. This guy is just a brainiac, and I call him the liberal slayer. He's known for his conservative thinking in politics and law. He's a political scholar, a legal scholar, amongst many other things. I mean, he's like a genuine Renaissance man, this guy. Again, I call him a liberal slayer, but he slays people in such a polite way that they're almost saying thank you as he's putting the conservative sword in their heart. And I mean figuratively, with his arguments. He's just so brilliant in his arguments. I'm reading one of his books now, and I'm just like, wow, I'm shaking my head. This guy is really smart. So he's a Catholic, very polite. He's a professor, and many people consider him the greatest conservative thinker of our time. So think about that, and let me know your ideas, who you think it might be. And again, that's going to be Thursday, so please subscribe, hit the bell, and if you're buying or selling real estate, please go to realestateforlife.org to get the most experienced professional realtor who's pro-life and pro-American. So now, Pope Francis, my experience, first off, I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, you might be surprised, you might not. I've never been to a Latin Mass. So I'm just telling you from someone who's never, my point of view. Maybe someone else who's, a Latin Mass guy might have a different perspective. He might have a more correct perspective. I'm just giving you my perspective from someone who's never been to a Latin Mass. I was a baptized Catholic, but I never really went to church after I made my communion in second grade until, I lose track, but I think it's like 6 years I came back to the Catholic Church after being a Bible-alone evangelical Christian. So one of the biggest hurdles coming back to the church was accepting the church's authority. And, Matthew chapter 16, 18 through 19 clearly shows that Jesus gave authority to one church. And there's no denying that church is the Catholic Church if you take an honest look at history. So I accepted the authority of the church and the Pope being the leader of the church. And, in Matthew 16, 18, Jesus said, what you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and what you loose on earth will be loose in heaven. And generally speaking, popes and along with the magisterium, the bishops of the church, can change disciplines of the church. They can't change dogma or doctrine. And what amazed me was the claim of the Catholic Church that they never have. And the claim is true. I researched it for years before I came back to the Catholic Church. So what Pope Francis did with the Latin Mass wouldn't be changing a dogma or doctrine, in my view. Now, I think it's I quoted in my last video about Father James Martin. I think it's Canon Law 229. I don't have any of my books with me or the Bible or anything. I'm going by memory. But I think it's Canon Law 229. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't mind being corrected. But basically, according to canon law, as a baptized Catholic, I'm called and you're called to defend our faith. Okay? So I'm going to speak out about our faith, and but I'm going to respect the authority of the church. So just like when I was an enlisted guy in the Navy, I didn't expect the admiral of the Navy to consult with me on major decisions of the Navy. I didn't expect the admiral of the Navy to say, "Oh, Rob's got a YouTube channel. I need to go on his channel and explain to him what I'm doing." So just as a layman, as a regular working guy, I'm going to give you my opinion. So first off, when I came back to the church, I actually loved Pope Francis. You know, as an evangelical, he was really reaching out to us. And I seen him in a meeting with a bunch of charismatic Christians and Protestant Christians, with a guy I seen for the first time, Tony Palmer, and I was like, wow, this guy is an evangelical. Tony Palmer, actually, he was an Anglican priest, but he was like an evangelical, charismatic Anglican priest, if you would say. But he gave like a really strong defense of the Catholic Church. I was like, wow, he gave a good argument why we should all be Catholic. And he was a good personal friend of Pope Francis. And I heard Pope Francis speak, and I was like, wow, this guy talks my language. And I fell in love with Pope Francis, honestly. And then I heard all this sayings, amongst Catholics, it's like, it seemed like evangelicals liked him more than Catholics liked him. Like, oh, this guy's liberal. I'm like, liberal? And then I kind of watched the reporting on him, and this was my assumption then, and it's still what I believe. So I watched for years the media try and destroy men I love. Ronald Reagan, the media painted this guy as a buffoon, an idiot. He's going to lead us into World War III. Yet history proved that he kept us out of World War III. He ended the Cold War. Then George W. Bush, they painted this guy as the biggest racist in the world. I remember when he was running, they were showing ads of churches burning and the Democrat Party saying that he's going to, if he's elected, the KKK is going to be revived in the South. I mean, they just made this guy to be the biggest racist in the world. And now today, Michelle Obama, on more than one occasion, I've heard her say, George W. Bush is like her best friend. And if you ever see him at events where all the ex-presidents are, she's always joking with them. She's like, yeah, he's just like the nicest guy. So, and then of course, President Trump, no one's ever withstood the lies and hatred of the media, like he did. They just totally tried to destroy this guy and his character. I mean, I know people that still believe some of these debunked lies about him. But so in the same way, in a weird reverse way, the media, in my view, paints Pope Francis as this liberal socialist who's going to allow abortion, who's going to allow gay marriage, who's going to allow women priests. And they do this, and they take advantage of his humility, where when someone accuses him of something, he never replies. He's like, like when Jesus was going to his death, he never replied and defended himself. He just went. And I kind of see that humility in Pope Francis. He doesn't reply when people say stuff about him. And everything I heard he affirms gay marriage and he's for gay marriage, but it's always been an anonymous source or someone who had a private meeting. And then publicly he says, we cannot bless gay marriage because we cannot bless sin. So he never changed the doctrine. In fact, he strengthened the doctrine, that marriage is between one man and a woman. And then, I hear oh, he's easy on abortion because now it used to be if you had an abortion, you had to have a bishop, you had to go to a bishop for confession, and now he allowed priests. But I see that, as mercy. I see that as he's a pastor. He's more of a pastor than a theologian. He'll be the first to admit it. And he's in touch with people. He's close to people. He talks to people. He knows the hurt that abortion causes women. And he wants to bring them the mercy of God. He wants to make it more available to God. That's our calling, to heal people, to save people. And, but then publicly you hear him say, abortion is the gravest of all mortal sins. You hear him publicly saying, going for an abortion is like hiring a hitman to kill your baby. I mean, these are public statements. This is what I pay attention to, what he publicly says, But I think people get confused, just like Jesus confused people. Just think about the woman at the well. All those other women in the town were sinners. We're all sinners. Every one of us are sinners saved by grace. But Jesus picked out this particular woman because even amongst all the sinners, she was an outcast. And I see him going to the gay community the same way. An adulterous man is just as much as a sinner destined to hell as a gay man having homosexual sex. Yet, all these adulterous men will send this man away like an outcast, And so the woman at the well, even though she was just as sinful as the women in town, she had to go to the well by herself because she couldn't be around those people. She was an outcast. But Jesus went to her. Not only did Jesus go to her, but she was the first person Jesus revealed that he was the Messiah. Imagine that. But he didn't condone her sin. He called her out on how he said, yeah, you had 5 husbands and the guy you're with now isn't your husband. And then he told her, you don't know how to worship. Salvation is from the Jews. So he spoke truth, but with love and compassion. So that's, I see Pope Francis as kind of a role model in that, Call me crazy, but this is what I see, And even, everybody was afraid he was going to say, women could be ordained. And he came out and he said it. And even before he made it official that, women could never be ordained priests, I've heard him say, the church can't change it because Jesus made his first apostles, his first bishops, all men. Not that men are better, but we have a different role than women, Women may have a greater role. He called Mary to be his mother. I think that's a greater role, being the mother of God rather than being an apostle of God. So it's not saying because we have only ordained men as priests, men are better, And again, he revealed to a woman, the woman at the well, the first time who he was, the Messiah. He allowed a woman, Mary Magdalene, be the first woman to see him raised from the dead. So, when Pope Francis is showing respect to the women, he's following the tradition of Jesus Christ our Lord. So that's how I see Pope Francis, and I know a lot of my friends disagree with me. But, I got to be honest, I'm not doing this for views. I'm not doing this for subscribers. I'm doing this because I feel called to speak the truth. So as far as the Latin Mass, my understanding of the Latin Mass was after Vatican II, it was banned. And then Pope Benedict, seeing there was a lot of people hurt and he was afraid of a schism. And so he allowed it, in a limited way, obviously. Like I said, I've never been to one, and I've been curious, but I can't find one close to my house. So, but long story short, what Pope Francis is saying, in my understanding, is instead of creating unity like Pope Benedict thought it would, it's creating division, And I know some people that love the Latin Mass that are not divisive. They're not divisive at all. I would not call them divisive people. But then I've heard some people deny Vatican II. We can't, the Vatican II was a legit council. We have to abide by it, And if you are against Vatican II, I would recommend listening to Peter Kreeft on Vatican II. He was one of the first guys that I heard when I came back to the Catholic Church explaining Vatican II. Vatican II was beautiful, but a lot of people are against it. And it seems like it just seems a lot of people, not all, like I said, I know several guys on YouTube that love Vatican II and love the Latin Mass. But there are some that are coming out against Vatican II, basically saying the Pope isn't legitimate. So I guess there's been like an explosion of the Latin Mass. It's growing, and I'm not saying Pope Francis is right or wrong on this, but I'm saying he has the authority given to him by God to restrict it, and that's what he did. And as faithful Catholics, we got to abide by what the church says. We're not Protestants. We can't just go ahead and start our own church. I mean, we believe the church has the authority to bind and loose. So he just bound up Latin Mass for a while. And maybe it's for a season, maybe it's permanent, I don't know. But it's not my job to make that decision. And then there's things on politics people will point out. Well, he's a socialist. I've heard him condemn crony capitalism, but I've heard him say capitalism is good too. And people say, well, that's confusing. No, it's not confusing. Crony capitalism is what we have now in America. The Biden administration's in bed with big tech and Walmart, and when all these little stores were closed, all these big stores became richer and richer. That's what you call crony capitalism. But true capitalism, where it's a total free market and everybody has an equal playing field, actually lifts more people out of poverty. And I've heard Pope Francis say good things about capitalism. So I don't think he's a socialist. I think he just cares about people, and he's saying, government's got to do more for people. Now, politically, I could disagree with him. That's not going against his authority. I'm more conservative minded, saying the less government, the better it is for poor people. Like Ronald Reagan said, government isn't the solution, government's the problem. But that's political. We can say that. Pope Francis, we have the freedom to disagree on politics and science, just like he's real big on climate change. And I disagree with him on climate change. But that doesn't make him the anti-pope. That just means we disagree politically. So that's how I see it. Either way, if you agree with the Pope or disagree, we're called to pray for the Pope and respect his authority. So hope this was helpful. God bless. Stay Catholic. And don't forget, take a guess who this scholar is going to be. I mean, this is the most scholarly scholar that I could even think of. So God bless, and see you soon.